Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 6. During this week, we're actually covering chapter 6, which is all about memory. So, as usual, I have your to do list for the week and your learning objectives. You're going to notice that the beginning of the chapter spends a good deal of time setting up a model for how to understand the processing of memory. That is the three-stage processing model. And it really helps to just clarify uh, the different mechanisms of memory. So it's going to walk you through sensory memory, short-term memory, and then long-term memory. The majority of the chapter will actually be spent in long-term memory because that's where a lot of the, I guess you could say, the meat and potatoes of what happens in memory occurs. But you'll definitely go through the visual, acoustic, semantic encoding that happens mostly in sensory memory, and then kind of how we process things in our working or short term memory when we want to hang on to material for just a bit and then it's not necessary to keep it. And then you'll see long term wise, then how do we plug things into long term memory and then how do we go about retrieving that and getting that back out. So that's kind of the majority of the chapter, and then towards the end, we'll start getting into a little bit of the applications of memory, understanding what can get in the way of us remembering things, which is usually referred to as retrieval failure, or when we have things like amnesia or dementia, as in the case of Alzheimer's, what does that do in particular to us in terms of our memory? So some great application uh, topics dealing with memory there. So those are the objectives. Memory slides for the lecture here. All the videos that you're going to be watching are in episode 8, memory, so pretty standard for this week on that. And your discussion is a really interesting one. I love this one. I always love to see what people write about. It's based on the Hawk Reading 16 as well as the textbook. So again, I just want to reiterate, after reading everyone's discussions, I'm still noticing that largely people are not integrating the main textbook, your Cicerelli and White textbook. You're reading the Hawk Reading and then you're just responding to that. You should be integrating in the concepts from the Cicerelli and White to help your understanding of the Hawk Reading. So in this Hawk Reading, for instance, it's all about the work of Elizabeth Loftus. She was a memory researcher, and she spent her career looking at eyewitness testimony. Like, how valid is it when people are recalling an event, something that happened? How well do they do that? What can get in the way of that? And as law enforcement officials, what should we be aware of in terms of the validity of eyewitness testimony? So some really powerful research came out of her work there. And that's what the Hawk Reading's all about. But the Hawk Reading doesn't really give you the bones, a lot of the concepts that help you to understand, well, what is short-term memory and what is long-term memory and what role do those play in forgetting something that you saw. You're going to be looking at this idea of memory reconstruction when we're reconstructing something that happened. We saw something or we witnessed something and now we're asked about it. What does our brain do when we're asked to recall something that we witnessed? Does it do it correctly? And if you're guessing, probably not. But why? What gets in the way? And so that's pretty much what the Hawk Reading is about. Use the concepts in your main textbook to help elucidate all of that work and bring it more into focus and make it more clear as to how all the pieces fit together. Use the models, use the stage theories that are talked about in the chapter that are going to help you to understand this whole area of research a little bit better. Okay, So you're going to also be talking about repressed memories, which has been a very controversial topic in the area of psychology as well as in the area of clinical work. Patients remembering past abuse or past trauma that they suffered, and just the context that they remember those things in is often in therapy, in clinical work that they're doing one-on-one with a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist, and what can happen in those relationships that might bring about memories for events that possibly never even occurred. So it gets a little bit into that, and your textbook also does touch on it as well. So great way to integrate the two sources, and I really want to see everyone doing that. That's what's going to get you a 9 or 10 on the discussions. Another thing I want to say, just really quickly while we're here in the discussion topic, is several of you are still not responding to 3 other people. You're writing your original post and you're just leaving it at that. If you're doing that, you're getting yourself or you're earning yourself at most 4 out of 10 points because each response is worth 2. So 2 times 3 is 6. You're losing 6 points if you're not replying to anyone else. And you're only getting the 2 points if you're writing a really good response. If you're just writing 1 or 2 sentences, chances are you're getting maybe 1 point each. So I've been writing that in my feedback to you all on how to better your posts and how to, just kind of make those a little bit more lengthy and more complex, how to draw out more information when you're responding to other people. So please take a look at that. If you haven't been going back into the actual discussion board threads of like when you respond to someone, you have to actually go back into that to see if I said something to you, then you need to do that. I think some of you are just reading my feedback in the grade box, and that's really short. I write more when I read your posts. So I'll respond to your posts just like you would respond to somebody else. And I'll say things to you about, well, hey, what about this? Or how come you didn't talk about that? Or, oh, hey, you said this and, what do you think about that? And so I often do that. And my goal in doing that is to get you thinking or realizing even what you might have missed. So please go back in and take a look at those if you haven't. That's going to help you to better your posts for the future. And definitely, you've got to be responding to other students. If you're not doing that, you're not engaging in the discussion. You're simply writing one post and then leaving it for the week. So just keep that in mind as you guys are going through your week. I did see some really great posts though, and some people really are reading the feedback and incorporating that and getting better. I've noticed several people improving, each week, getting better and better. So that's good. So you only have a quiz for this week, and that is on Chapter 6. The quiz closes Friday. Last week the dates were a little different, and that was mainly because I was having issues with Play-Doh, and I just wanted to make sure I gave you guys a little extra time last week. Because there was some periods where Play-Doh wasn't up and working. I don't know why. It mainly happened during a couple posts I noticed, because I can kind of see how long each person's spending on posts. And so this week, it's back to the regular schedule that's set on your syllabus for due dates. So please, anytime you're in question of like when is something due, check the syllabus. The back page, the last page, has all the dates and times that everything is due. So that's really helpful. So don't forget about that quiz this week. And again, too, I usually say this, but always have a backup option when you're taking your quiz. So if your computer goes down or something goes wrong, that you have another, source. To limit that happening, I would say, make sure you're doing your quizzes in a spot that has great Wi-Fi, that's not prone to cutting out. sometimes if you're doing your quiz in a public place like a coffee shop or something, it can kick you off the Wi-Fi, intermittently. So you want to be careful of that. Just, have a good source where you're doing your work, and it's only 10 minutes for the quiz. So I would hope that everybody has a place where they can go and work for at least 10 minutes, not be interfered with when doing that quiz. And the same thing goes for the exams. So that is the week. Again, please let me know if you have any questions. Please feel free to email me as you're working on your discussions. If you just, want more help, or you just have general questions about what you're writing or what you should be including, all good reasons to email me and let me know so I can try to help you. Okay? Have a great week, everybody.